let's dive in today in the topic of self-love, right? We talk about that a lot, and I think it's only fitting with it being Valentine's Day that we really talk about the greatest love out there, which is self-love. It's a buzzword, it's a keyword, you'll hear it a lot. You'll hear people say, well, just love yourself. Well, what does that really mean? And how do I get there? A lot of my clients struggle with this. I myself struggled with this wholeheartedly. For many of you who do or don't know, depending on how long you've been here, I suffered a traumatic brain injury it'll be 10 years ago this April. And when that happened, I lost all of me. I lost my identity. I lost memory. I lost physicalities. There was disabilities I had, but most importantly, I lost myself. I didn't know who I was or how I would fit into society again. I didn't even know how to relate to those people that I loved and cared about so much in my life because I couldn't even relate to myself. And at the core, this is the foundation for self-love because many of you don't have to suffer a brain injury to still feel very disconnected to yourself, to still feel like, I don't know who I am. Sometimes it's people get involved in relationships and you could be in a 20-year marriage and some people feel like they lost themselves. Or you could be at a job that you no longer even enjoy and wonder, the hell am I doing? Why am I doing this? We're always evolving and we're always learning. And I think one of the key elements that I like to use and try to use with myself as well is something I call emotional alchemy. Kind of sounds like a lot, but it's really easy. And what that is how can I transform my negative emotions and make them into a catalyst that propels me to do things that I really want to do? How can I use them to not hold me back, but actually push me forward? Now, many of you might not know, I'm not a big proponent of just think positive. That doesn't work. And it's not really sound advice. We're here to experience all of life's emotions. The problem is society, cultures we grew up in, a lot of them don't teach us how to deal with negative emotions. And for those of you listening, I used air quotes because really there are no negative emotions. There's just emotions we don't like feeling. We don't like being sad. We don't like anger. We don't like frustration. Nobody does. And I get that. It doesn't feel good. But the key to that is how can I transform that feeling into something that I can use instead of it being so uncomfortable? That's where the emotional alchemy comes in. And what that means is I can sit here and feel this anger and sadness, and I know it's going to pass because the emotions last about 90 seconds. Scientifically, if you want to look that up, each human emotion lasts about 90 seconds. It doesn't mean it won't repeat, but it's only 90 seconds. So when you break it down that way, I think I can do anything for 90 seconds, right? I mean, 90 seconds isn't that long. And when you can break it down that simply, you realize that we are not our emotions. And you probably hear that a lot, but you're really not. Your emotion is just something you're feeling. It's something you're going through, but it's not who you are. And sometimes we make a lot of decisions. Most of the time we make a lot of decisions based on our emotions. So we'll make poor decisions depending what our emotional state is. I know for me, if I'm frustrated or I'm feeling very frazzled or stressed, I try not to make any important decisions at that time because I know I'm not in a clear mental state to make the best decision for me. So how do I do this, right? What do I do with emotional alchemy? Well, it's simple. It's allowing yourself to feel these feelings and then how can I use it to work with me? For instance, I'll give you an example. When I was in my darkest moment, when I was depressed, right after my brain injury, you go through a lot. Depression is very common. I knew I felt like I was drowning. I didn't like life. You could have told me all the positive things to do. I mean, I know what to do. I work with people who do this, and yet I couldn't get myself out of this. But what I did know was that sadness and anger couldn't hold space with gratitude. You can't feel those two things at the same time. It's very difficult. You can't be angry and grateful. So knowing that, I force myself every morning to get up and write a gratitude journal. Why? Because I needed a break from the sadness. I needed a break from the anger. And I knew that if I could write it down and be grateful, even if it was for 5 minutes, it would give me an emotional break. It would give my nervous system a break. And so I did it. And trust me, I didn't wake up thinking, oh, yes, I can't wait to write this gratitude journal. That's not what happened at all. In fact, there were some days where I really didn't want to write it. And all I could find were things to be grateful for. Was like, I'm grateful that I'm breathing. I'm grateful that the sun is shining. I'm grateful that I have a bed to sleep in. These don't have to be profound things, but there is always something that I could be grateful for. And the more I did it, the more of a break I gave myself. Because in those 5 minutes, and sometimes it would turn to 10 minutes, and then eventually it would turn to 20 minutes of writing, I wasn't feeling sad, and I wasn't feeling angry. And it was allowing the anger and sadness to live, but also alchemizing it and learning that I can give myself a break and also find good things while I'm in this not so good state. That's the key to emotional alchemy. It's not running. It's not using something like alcohol or drugs or Netflix or food or sex to hide what I'm feeling or make me feel better. You have to feel your feelings. You can't. I've worked with hundreds of brain injury survivors, and I've seen this over and over again where even survivors of cancer or other things, well, they'll say, well, it's been 7 years and I just can't get happy. And the reason being is you can't skip over grief. You can't skip over sadness just to happiness. It doesn't go away. And if you know energetics about the body, those energies get stored. So you have to feel your feelings. So if I look at it this way and go, okay, I got to feel my feelings, but I don't have to add suffering to the feelings that I'm already feeling. I can feel it. It can be painful, but I don't have to suffer. So maybe I do some self-care. Maybe I allow myself to cry for, 10 minutes and then go take a bath or go take a walk. I'm not masking the emotion. I'm working with it. I'm saying, yes, you can express yourself. And yes, I'm going to feel you. But I'm also going to do something on the other end to soothe that feeling. It's like a wound, right? You're going to clean your wound and you're going to put a Band-Aid on it. You're not going to ignore it. You're going to aid it in the healing. It's the same thing with your emotions. So I think knowing these and being able to take these negative emotions is the greatest form of self-love you can give yourself. Because here's the thing, and something I tell my clients all the time. We want to walk down Sad Street. We don't want to live there. But you're going to have to walk it. But I promise you this, you'll never walk down this sad street again. Yes, you'll be sad. Other times, yes, you'll go through other things, but it won't be this exact street. And you'll have new tools, and you'll be a new person, and you'll know how to deal with the next sadness because you've walked down this street. And I think that's the key to all of this that people don't talk about when they talk about self-love. You got to love yourself through all of it, not just the happy times. And this is where tools and coaches and therapy and energy sessions, I don't care what you use. I don't care. I've tried them all. I've used them all. They're all helpful at different times. Different things work for me in different ways. And they're all good. But I'm not trying to change that emotion. I'm not trying to say, I don't want to feel angry. I'm saying to you, feel angry in a healthy way. Allow yourself to process it and move through it. Don't mask it. Because when we mask emotions, they just get buried and they come out later. And that's why people explode or people really blow up, or why in relationships people don't talk to each other, because we've got to learn how to express these emotions. And that is a great form of self-love, to be able to sit down with your partner or sit down with a friend and be like, I'm feeling this way. I'm feeling really angry and I don't need you to fix it. And I certainly don't need you to do anything. I just need you to know that's where I'm at. And I just need some grace in this moment because I'm struggling. Right? We're not looking for others to fix us. We have to fix us. But there's so many tools that can help you navigate these. And I think that's why when you hear a lot about shadow work these days, that's what that is. Nobody likes doing shadow work because it doesn't feel good. We're a society addicted to feeling good, with dopamine hit from social media, with food that you can order and sit on your couch and have wings and pizza and ice cream and, to alcohol, to wine, to beer. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with those things, but we're a generation, or actually a culture, I should say, not a generation, addicted to feeling good. But that's out of balance too. Life doesn't always feel good. But it also doesn't have to be the complete opposite of destruction and suffering and just, where we can get caught in those loops. We can feel these other feelings and navigate through them in a healthy way. And that's what I'm hoping to share with you guys in this short podcast that I'm giving you today, is that on a day of like Valentine's Day, where you might be thinking, I don't have a significant other, or, everybody's roses and balloons and all those things are nice. But what are you giving to yourself? There's a tattoo I have on my arm. You can't really see it now, but it's called, and it's a quote I love, and it says, "We accept the love we think we deserve." It came from a movie that I loved, but I thought that quote was so profound. We accept the love we think we deserve. So if you look at the love you have around you, if you look at your friends, if you look at your family, we teach people how to treat us. So if you are not getting loved the way that you hoped, are you teaching them how to treat you? Are you able to love you the way you want somebody else to? Because a lot of times we do. We want our partners to love us in a way that we don't even love ourselves. We want our family and friends to support us in ways that we don't even support ourselves. You can't give to others what you don't give to yourself. You just can't. How could you? If you don't know how to give it to you, the most important person there is on this planet, how are you going to give it to somebody else? And I've had people and clients say, oh, I do. I give. You're not giving from an authentically true place. You're probably giving to feel worthy. You're giving because you're getting something in return. We all do it. We all do it to some degree or another, until we get more conscious of our intentions behind what we're doing. So the first key is emotional alchemy. Work with your negative emotions. Don't add to them. You're going to feel pain. You're going to feel sadness, but don't make yourself suffer. You don't have to. It's unnecessary. It's already hard enough. And trust me, I had to learn that the hard way. But I think another key thing that's really big on understanding you is silent self-celebrations. So it's something I have my clients do all the time, and I call it glory boarding. Are you celebrating your wins? They don't have to be huge. Maybe your mom and you had an argument the other day, and you were getting really triggered, and normally you would call her names or say something, but you didn't. You took a breath. Maybe you even excused yourself and went, you know what? I need a break. I don't really want to argue with you right now, but we can talk about this at a later time. I need to calm down. That's a win. It's what the Buddhists call practicing the pause, right? When you naturally breathe, there's a natural pause in your breath. You don't do that. You breathe in, you pause, and you breathe out. In that pause, so much can change. And so when you're doing silent self-celebrations, it's important to understand that no matter how small, no matter how introspective, are you celebrating that? I do it all the time with my clients who will be like, they recognize something for the first time, and then they'll beat themselves up and say, well, I should know better. I'm like, the simple fact that you're recognizing this in this moment is huge. That's the first step. Most people won't even recognize it. Most people are running on habitual habits all day and aren't even conscious of what they're doing or why they're doing it or even who it's affecting. But if you paused and you notice that about yourself and you think, I want to change that. I want to do something differently. Celebrate that. Celebrate it. Because that's big. It's in these small steps that we make huge transformations. It's not in these, excuse me, not in these huge glorified moments where, yes, we all have them, but it's really in the day-to-day small tweaks and changes that you determine, you know what, I'm not going to react that way. Or I'm going to go out of my way to say this. Or maybe if I just don't say anything and try to just listen to the person and don't try to prove my point, maybe I can shift this relationship in a way that I never thought possible. Those are the small keys. Those are the small tools. These are the things that people don't think about but have the biggest impact on people's lives. I've seen it. I know it. I've used it. It's worked in my life. It's worked on myself. I've had to go through these things. So silent celebrations are so important as a foundational step in your self-love journey. So you've got emotional alchemy, right? How can I work with these negative emotions? Not mask them, but how do I work with them? I've got silent celebrations. I celebrate shifting, doing things a little bit different, not drastically, just a little bit. And then the third thing I would leave you with is symbiotic self-love. When you cultivate self-love within you, you'll see it start to spill over into your family and your friends. It's happened in my life. I've seen it in my clients' lives. I've seen it the minute you start working on your stuff. It creates this ripple effect out into your community, your people, your world, and you'll see them start to shift. I'll give you an example. When I started going to the spiritual center here in Charlotte years ago, it was a spiritual center that I loved. I went by myself. I would go every Sunday. I loved just what I was learning. I loved the energy. It set me up for the week. It fulfilled me in a way that nothing else had. And it was helping me change. And then my friends started coming to me and they were like, dude, what are you doing? And I'm like, what do you mean? And they're like, I don't know. There's just something so different about you. Like, there's just this glow to you, or like this energy. Like, you're just different. Like, what's happening? And I said, I'm just going to the spiritual center every Sunday and I'm learning and I'm embodying that which I learned. And then my friends started to go to the spiritual center. And then before you know it, I had these friends and we had this big community. The center kept growing and it was amazing. But it took me going, which wasn't on my radar. I was just going to better myself. But it rippled out into my friends, and then it rippled out into their friends and family, and then it rippled out, and then all of a sudden, here we are with this spiritual community. That really happens. So understanding that when you're working on yourself, when you're giving yourself self-love, when you're building this foundation, you're affecting everything in your world, whether you see it or not. It'll affect your family. It will affect your friends. It just does, because it's a change. It's palpable. It's internal. Your heart has one of the biggest auras out there. In fact, when you walk into a room, you're going to hit and bump up on other people's heart auras, and they're going to hit yours before anything else, right? It comes back to that old cliche quote, you can't pour from an empty cup. So what are you filling and putting into your cup? Because you got to fill your cup first before you can fill others. So if anything, I hope this gives you a little insight. I hope it gives you a few little tools. I hope it gives you a way to look at self-love a little differently. I'm not trying to convince you, but I share these things because I know they work. They've worked in my life. They've worked in my client's life. They've worked in my friend's life. And they continue to work. And I would say another fantastic modality that would really help you with this is Gene Keys. I mean, it's something I talk about a lot. I've been on a lot of podcasts about it. And the reason I share it so much is because I've seen it cause such great transformation in people's lives. It's caused great transformation in my life. That how could I not share this with people? Maybe it's not for you, and that's okay. Maybe there's something else, but maybe it is. I think when you can walk around with a curious mind and think, what do I have to lose? Maybe I'll learn something from this. Maybe I'll transform this relationship. Maybe I can transform this belief that I've had about myself that I haven't been able to change. What if this is the key? So if you're interested in that and it's something that you think, yeah, I want to look at my shadows. I want to learn how to love myself better. Gene Keys is fantastic. I do sessions with people. I have a Gene Keys package you can get. I also am doing Gene Keys recordings with people where we'll pick one key. And a lot of people like to go to the attraction key because it's about your relationships. And we'll do one live session for 30 minutes and put that on YouTube. That's free. Whatever works for you. And maybe it's not me. Maybe you want to go work with an energy healer, sound healer. I'm a sound healer. I've done a lot of sound healings. Whatever it is, what I encourage you to do is go for what you feel drawn to. Listen to you, to your gut, to your intuition. Listen to your body. Listen to your excitement and think, I want to try that out. Have fun learning how to love yourself in a new way. It doesn't have to be daunting. It doesn't have to be scary. And it doesn't have to be overwhelming. It can be however you want it to be. But you deserve you. More than anything, you deserve you. So I'm happy to help you guide you on that path if you feel called. If not, I hope this podcast helped you. I hoped these 3 things help you. But more importantly, I hope you know what type of love you deserve. And remember that we accept the love we think we deserve. Love you more. Love you better. You deserve it. We all do. I love you guys. And I'll see you in the next one. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for listening to this podcast, for subscribing or sharing it on podcast platforms. Thank you for your support. Thank you for sharing your stories. Thank you for being here. You are so needed on this planet. And I am, for one, grateful that you are here. Until next time, guys.